After the summer break, I set about putting my plans in motion. Whilst looking at squad planning, it became obvious we had two clear areas of weakness. Due to Mike Pender's loan ending, we were short a goalkeeper, and Ben Chilwell was our only established left back. The data hub showed we had played some impressive football in the 25-26 season, as it revealed we were performing much better than average in nearly every area of our game. In terms of the club's vision, the board was still looking to be ambitious, as they set us the task of growing the club's reputation and reaching the Champions League proper. Our initial transfer budget would be set at 14.75 million, and I would look to spend wisely following Penders and Sarr returning to Chelsea, and Rafael Luis returning to Benfica after I declined to make his transfer permanent after signing Siltonen. After the loanees left the club, it was time to get to work on transfer business. Now, there would be a number of players that would leave the club, and the first of which was Julio Enciso. Manchester City came in with a bid of £43 million. I thought Chelsea would get involved. They did not. I accepted the bid and we moved the player on. I felt at this point it was probably better to take the money because I didn't know what was going to happen with the player in the long term, and it worked out that we got £43 million to play with. The next player to leave was a player that I actually didn't want to move on, but Ismail Decore had rejected a contract and didn't want to run the risk of him running the contract down. We put him out to transfer room and Fulham came up with a bid of £15 million. I deemed that was a good enough offer. We took the money and moved the player on. Also following him out of the club would be Seydou Sow. Juventus came in with an offer. I felt he was the weak link in our defensive options, and I also thought that investing the money of around £3.5 million, we would be able to replace him with somebody much stronger. And the final player that we moved on was Oscar Pereira. He'd already spent a season away from the club out on loan, and when he returned to the club, Atletico Madrid came in with a fair offer, and I felt now was the time to cash in. Even though he's only 20 and probably had a lot more of development in him, I felt that the offer that they were putting up would allow us to reinvest in the first team, so we took the cash. So with the players that have left the club boosting our transfer kitty, now would be the time to start to buy the players that would mould the club for the remainder of the save. The first place that I went for a player was Brazil. I signed Brazilian wonder kid Del. He will come into the club to provide some competition for Panicelli at the top end of the pitch. At the age of 18, has fantastic scope for development. Already begins with the team with some promising attributes. He scores highly in his physicals, scores highly in his technicals. This is a player that I really am going to look to develop as we go along. The next player that we would sign would address one of the weaknesses in our squad, as we signed Marvin Hubel to be our first choice goalkeeper. He's a little bit older than some of the other players we are going to sign throughout the save, but at the age of 23, he's a wise head on young shoulders, should make a great choice as our first choice goalkeeper. Next up, we signed depth at the goalkeeper position. We picked up Justin Bengui Zhao. He cost just a couple of £1 million from Lyon, and at the age of 21 will be a backup to Marvin Hubel. I think this could be a real bargain. We're going to look to throw him in for cup games and get him a bit of first team experience, but with him being a backup, there is pretty much no risk. He's young, he's French, and he's cheap. I think this is a fantastic signing that we'll see develop as we go along. The next player that arrives at the club would also address one of our issues in the squad. This is Marvin Akahoman, and he's going to be our left back to provide competition to Ben Chilwell. He cost just £2 million. He arrives from Switzerland, and I think he's one that we're going to get to plug in and give some first team football. At the age of just 19, he has fantastic scope for development. We would also add Thibaut Delphis. He's a player that comes in, again, a cheaper option that was recommended by the scouts. Picked him up for around £1.6 million. He isn't really going to be a first teamer, but as you can see, as an emergency backup player, he's one that we're going to plug into the squad. Can rotate when we need to give players some rest, and I think is a sound option in defence. The next player to arrive would be one of our top targets at centre-back. This is Yon Gadou, as we bring him back to French football from Red Bull Salzburg. He's a player that is going to slot straight in and give competition to players like Omobamidele and Koulibaly. And I think he could even surpass both of those. At the age of 19, he's a bargain at around £10 million. Next up is a player that we would take on loan using that link up with Chelsea as we sign Marc Jeu. Another striker at the top of the pitch to provide competition for Panicelli and Dell. Hopefully he can come in and fill that gap vacated by Amiga. Looking at the player, he's one of those that he's going to develop. And luckily for us, there is a clause in his contract to sign the player for £10 million if his loan is a success. And the other Chelsea player that we would sign is a player that I got very excited about when I saw he was available for loan, as we pick up Dario Asugo just for the season. This is a defensive midfielder that I think has brilliant scope to develop in the future. Unfortunately, no buy clause in his contract, but we're going to make the best of it and use him as that defensive midfield destroyer. So those are the transfers. That is the business that we have complete. As we move into the new season, we are now going to look to really kick on as a club. Fingers crossed we can build on what we had from the first season and really kick on as we move into the 26-27 season. The 26-27 season would kick off at home as we hosted Auxerre. With a number of new faces in the squad, we would have been forgiven for a slow start, but it wasn't the case, as some brilliant link-up play from our Chelsea loanees put in Moriera to make it 1-0. We soon doubled our lead as Zhu went from provider to scorer, and a third was slotted home by Barco to start with 3 goals and 3 points. Following on from that, we faced Lyon in a tough matchup. Well, it should have been a tough matchup, but we started fast, taking the lead after 10 minutes thanks to Sam Amo Amur. We quickly added a second as we capitalised on some poor distribution from the keeper and wrapped up the points as Nanasi's solo run hit the back of the net. The next game would be our Champions League debut. We put the league to the side for one moment as we host Red Bull Salzburg in our first ever Champions League game. Obviously, we are going to try and take it all in and put our best foot forward. Champions League games are big, big nights, and I think the club can really show themselves off in a positive light. Hopefully, we can take that first step along the path to going on to bigger and better things by overcoming Red Bull Salzburg. The players enter the playing field. They know it is a big, big night. Hearing the Champions League anthem, lining up with the Champions League logos around the stadium, it's one of those occasions that we really, really look forward to. And I think we're in for a treat of a game. Free kick from the right-hand side. Barco is going to swing it in left-footed. No, he's not. He plays to Silton, who has the shot that's blocked. Comes back out to Amo Amur, and it hits Koulibaly on the way through. And we take the lead after just 5 minutes of the game. Baghdad cuts inside his man. He's into the midfield. He plays it through for Dell, who's in on goal. Takes it wide, has to cut back. Plays the ball back to Chilwell on the edge of the box, who fires the shot in. And it's gone straight through a crowd of players into the back of the net. 2-0, 17 minutes on the clock. I have a free kick now on the left-hand side. Silton is going to swing this one in. Plays it towards the back post. Goes over everybody, and there's Højbjerg at the back post to head it in. 3-0 in the first half. 43 minutes gone. A perfect first half performance has led to a 3-0 scoreline. Can we kick on in the second half? Ratkov has the ball, plays it forwards to Bischoff. Can we close him down? We cannot. It's 3-1. And all of a sudden, they have a lifeline in the game. Bischoff keeps it in on the left-hand side. Beats the player. He's into the box. We need to close him down. We don't. What is going on here? All of a sudden, we were in control. Now it's 3-2. Chilwell runs forwards with the ball. He's going to play up the line to Moriera, who gets outside of the defenders. He's into the box. He beats one. He beats another. And he fires home to kill the game off. 4-2. Should be game over in the 89th minute. And as the full-time whistle blows, what an absolutely incredible introduction to the Champions League. A 4-2 victory, 3-0 up at half-time. We made it difficult for ourselves, but we get 3 points from our first Champions League game. And it's 3 valuable points towards the league phase. So after the first 10 match days, we find ourselves in 3rd place in the table. We would be sat just behind PSG and Marseille. PSG would have the same amount of points, both of us being on 23. They had a better goal difference, but it was Marseille leading the way as they have 8 wins and 2 draws in the first 10 games to have 26 points. We would have 7 wins, 2 draws and a single loss coming at the hands of PSG to be sat on 23. It's all positive in terms of Ligue 1. And in the Champions League, after the first 2 match days, we would find ourselves sat in 6th place in the league phase. We would be on 4 points after winning the first game, drawing the second. There are a host of teams on 4 points also. There are currently just AC Milan, PSG and Barcelona that sit on 6 from 6. At the start of the season, some of the new faces were showing signs of settling in really quickly. Marc Giroud would start the season with 7 starts, 4 goals and a 7.06 average rating, and that already prompted me to trigger that £10.5 million clause that was in his contract, as he would join the club on a permanent next summer. Marvin Hubel was turning in impressive performances, justifying our choice as our first choice goalkeeper, and Dell would be showing signs of improvement, being a rotation piece early on in his first season at the club. As we begin the run-up to the winter break, we would encounter Marseille in a top-of-the-table clash. In a hard-fought game, we would walk away with the 3 points, as Moriera opened the scoring, and Amo Amur would score the winner in an important statement win. In the Champions League, we would face off against Ajax as they visit the Stade de la Meinau. At this point, we were in fine form. We ran out 6-0 victors. Barco gave us the lead. Koulibaly would make it 2. Moriera makes it 3 just 3 minutes later. Le Martial then scored just after half time. Amo Amor would put us 5-0 up. For Koulibaly would wrap up the 3 points as he made it 6-0. In the final league game before the winter break, we would face Toulouse away from home. We would turn in a fine performance as Gadou opened the scoring with a header, before Sam Amo Amor would fire past the keeper. Moriera made sure the 3 points were secure with a fine finish inside the box. As we head off for the winter break, we are hot on the heels of both PSG and Marseille in the hunt for the title. With 41 points from 17 games, we have played some brilliant football to be within touching distance at the top of the table as we head into the January transfer window. With a heavy amount of signings coming to the club in the summer, I decided to have a quiet January window, as the only business done was exciting winger Matisse Albert arriving at the club from Dortmund for £15 million. The team had hit a fine run of form, and the numbers in the data hub showed we were excelling in all areas of our game. Dario Asugo was highlighted for being a standout performer in midfield. Koulibaly was performing above average for his defending, and Sam Amo Amur was a standout in the wide areas. On the pitch, it was club captain Ben Chilwell leading by example, as he is the highest rated player at the club. Valentin Barco continues his growth in central midfield as he contributes 20 goal contributions in 24 matches, and it would be Diego Moriera, buoyed by his new contract, who will be the club's leading scorer at this point. With the club fighting on all fronts still, it should be an exciting second half of the season. Our first chance of lifting some silverware would come in the shape of the Trophy des Champions as we faced off against PSG. It would prove to be a tight game as we took the lead through Moriera before PSG equalised with 17 minutes to go to force the game into a penalty shootout. Vitinha stepped up first and smashed down the middle. Barco scored our first penalty with a low strike. Kvaratskhelia then parried his penalty past Hubel. Marc Giroud hit the post as it looked to be slipping away. But the very next penalty would be saved by Hubel to keep us in it. When Chilwell's penalty was saved, it looked to be advantage PSG once again. And when Doué tucked it away, PSG surely had one hand on the trophy. Le Martial kept us in it with a powerful strike, before João Neves saw his penalty saved by Hubel. When Siltanen smashed home, it was level as we now move on to sudden death. Zaire Emery then converted, before Hülsberg levelled again. Barcola then smashed his effort off the post, which left Moriera to be the hero and score the winning penalty to win us the Trophy des Champions. The players are all lined up as Ben Chilwell waits to receive the trophy, and then proudly holds it aloft as we celebrate a first trophy with Strasbourg. After the highs of winning our first trophy came the lows of losing Lucas Högsberg. He would miss up to 2 months with a calf strain, which was a shame because the Dane had become an essential player in our team. In our final Champions League phase match, we would face off against Frankfurt at home. Mark Schuh would open the scoring to give us an early lead, before Sam Amo Amur secured 3 points following a Frankfurt equaliser in a 2-1 win. So after that 2-1 victory, the Champions League phase would end with us finish in 13th place. We would have a record of 8 games played, 4-1, 2 draws, 2 losses, a goal difference of 4 and 14 points. Our reward for finishing in the playoffs in the league phase would be a knockout playoff round game against Villarreal. Back in league action, we would play against Guingamp and brush them aside with a dominant display. Goals from Matisse Albert, Mark Schuh, Matthias Siltanen and Jon Gadu gave us 3 more points in our quest to win the league. As of February the 7th, everything was going to plan safely through in the Champions League. We now find ourselves sat top of Ligue after 21 matches. We have played 21, winning 17, drawing twice and losing twice. We are now on 53 points. And most importantly, that puts us top of the league by a single point from Marseille. PSG are clinging on now 2 points behind. It's going to get interesting for the remainder of the season. We're going to turn our attentions back to the Champions League, and then we have the run-in to Ligue 1. The first leg of the knockout playoff would be away from home in Spain. Despite a plucky performance, we would suffer heartbreak as Ayoze Perez scored the only goal of the game in stoppage time. In the return leg at home, we would try everything in our powers to turn the game around, and when Le Marchal gave us the lead after just 4 minutes, everyone inside the ground started to believe. Sadly for us, we wouldn't add another goal, and Ayoze Perez once again got in to break our hearts. 1-1 on the night was not enough. Our Champions League adventure ends at the knockout playoff round. Off the back of the Champions League elimination would come a crunch game against PSG in what would prove to be a pivotal week in our season. We would start brightly and take the lead through Moriera. Sadly for us though, that would be as good as it got, as the game became the Warren Zaire Emery show, as he scored twice to hand us a 2-1 defeat. That now means that we relinquish top spot in the table to PSG as we begin the title race running. We will now have to dig deep to overturn them. One of our toughest games in the running would be an away trip to Marseille. We would play some fantastic football as Moriera opened the scoring to give us the lead. Valentin Barco doubled up for an important 3 points on the road. After this game, there would be 6 games left to play. We were still only 3 points off the top and a single point ahead of Marseille, who have had an impressive season. Next up, we faced off against Lille, who proved to be tough to break down. We would win the game by a single goal thanks to Sam Amo Amur as we keep our title hopes alive. With just 3 games to go, 3 teams were still alive for the title. We needed PSG to drop points in order to pull off a miracle. As the final games of the season kicked off, we still trailed PSG by 3 points. We would need something crazy to happen to win the league. All that we could do now is win our own game. We did just that as we beat Le Havre with goals from Le Marchal after the own goal, Mark Schuh from a towering header, and Valentin Barco from the spot as we end the season in style. So after the final whistles were blew, it would turn out to be another nearly season for us. We would finish in second place once again, and this time we had pushed PSG all the way, finishing on 81 points, 3 points behind PSG. We'd finished 4 points ahead of Marseille. Once again, qualifying for the Champions League, not being able to make that final step to overtake PSG. Think we're going to have to go back to the drawing board, hopefully in the new season, give them an even bigger run for their money. In terms of the league, we would end the season with the highest average rated player in the league, with Ben Chilwell. We'd have the player with the most assists, with Valentin Barco, and also our goalkeeper Marvin Hubel would have the most clean sheets. Once again, we would have a fantastic season in terms of the football that we played, scoring highly in nearly every area of our game. We had performed much better than average for our general performance, for our team attacking and our team defending. In the movement, we were considerably better than the norm. In the general performance, Dario Asugo was performing well above average in terms of the key statistics for his role. Sebastian Nanasi was also performing much better than a lot of the other players in the league in terms of his general performance, and Koulibaly was proving to be one of our best defenders at the club. In terms of the squad, we had some standout players this season. Marvin Hubel, our new first choice goalkeeper, would go on and be one of those players that had a fantastic first season at the club. Yon Gadou would also have an impressive first season at the club, cementing his position as first choice centre-back. Dario Asugo, one of the two loan players from Chelsea, played a pivotal role in our success across the season. He would play 20 times, and although he had a 6.89 average rated season, he would actually be integral to most of the things that we had done across the campaign. Matthias Siltonen had a great season. He was methodical in his work, played really well in that holding midfield position. Sam Amo Amior is another of those players who had been dangerous across the season. He would finish up with a 7.15 average rated season, scoring 16 goals with 11 assists. Matisse Albert came in the January transfer window, but would have a big impact on the team. He would make 14 appearances, including his substitute appearances. He would score 4 goals and have 3 assists, and score 7.32 average rated season. A very exciting start for the young American. And finally, Mark Zhu would cement his place as our starting striker. Across the season, he would play 31 times, 40 with his substitute appearances, scoring 15 goals, providing 5 assists, and having a 7.07 average rated season. That is the reason why at £10 million, he's an absolute steal, one of the loan deals from Chelsea that we are going to make permanent in the summer. So as the curtain comes down on the 26-27 season, it's one that I will look back on with pride. We have won the Trophée des Champions for the first time in the club's history and have gone on to finish second in Ligue 1 behind PSG once again, running them close, only being 3 points behind. As we head into the summer break, the big question this time around is how can we improve the team to leapfrog PSG to take that all-elusive Ligue 1 title?